Welcome and good morning. U.S. political leaders are trying to manage inflation, keep the economy afloat, and in that context, in Washington, we're talking a lot these days about electricity power prices. That's going to be one of our big themes today on Energy Shots. Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning, Joseph. Electricity is the stuff of modernity.
It certainly is, and more important to the economic future of the United States as we look into the future, whether that's generative AI, or powering electric vehicles, or electrifying homes and businesses. The idea that we need a lot more electricity, and we want it with certain attributes, is floating around town.
I see that this looks like a chart that's going up. You're not telling me that the stuff of modernity is getting more expensive, are you?
No, well, and recently it has been. You know, like if we kind of look at the big long story, for the last 25 years, we've had very low growth in the electricity system. And that low growth was also consistent with relatively low increases in nominal pricing.
Yes.
Right? So we're a low inflation environment, low electricity price increases. Like so many other things, we arrive at 2020 and 2021, and we're looking here at the national average residential electricity rate reported by the Energy Information Agency. Prices have really started to skyrocket. Now, if you look at this in inflation-adjusted terms, it looks kind of flat, but even that is different from recent experience. And recently, electricity rates have started to go up faster than inflation, which is a big challenge for our political leadership and for consumers around the country.
You mentioned inflation. By the way, have you ever gotten a power bill in inflation-adjusted terms? I never do.
No.
I notice the nominal price every single time. But you do mention inflation. September 26th was the day when the Bureau of Economic Analysis released PCE data, personal consumption expenditures data, which is an important day on every month. But in this particular month, it was the annual data at a state level. And so, as we do here on Energy Shots, we break the data down in a lot of different ways, and we're going to do that several different times today. We're going to break down some of the same data from different perspectives. What you see here right now, the green line, to go along with your green electricity rate, is the energy share of PCE writ large. So this is gasoline and other energy goods, plus natural gas, plus electricity, as a share of PCE over time. And what you can see on the green line, we're at 3.81%. In 2024, which is the second lowest over the data series from 1997 forward. Only the COVID year, the asterisk year of COVID, is lower. So actually quite low as an energy spending basis. As we've discussed in the past, when you look at the states that voted for Trump in the red versus the states that voted for Harris, there's about a 1 percentage point delta. A lot of that has to do with a bigger wallet out of which they have to drive less or have less power demand in the blue states, a smaller wallet in the red states, longer distance driving, more in temperate climate. But let's go to the components of PCE. If we look here, we have the same red-blue mnemonic. The red states are the ones that voted on a popular basis for Trump. And then you can see that 3.81% national average here. And looking across, you can see that the red states lead the pack in overall energy spending as a share of PCE. The sort of the rose-colored component, the lightest of reds, or the lightest of blues, is the gasoline and other energy goods, about 58% of the overall spend, give or take on a sort of national average basis. About 32% is electricity, a second and quite significant component. And if you look at where the stack breaks down, you can see right now that in some of the blue states, New Mexico shows up early, so does Maine. You have fairly big spending as a share of total PCE, but most of the blue deck is stacked towards the back. But when you look at the electricity component, it's a pretty significant component across the country, and quite large, of course, in the larger states on a relative basis to the smaller ones. If we look at how that has changed over time, and I think it's reasonable sometimes to ask, like, what happens year to year? How much, in terms of a percentage point change, year to year, did this electricity PCE move? Last year, 37 states saw an increase in their electricity share of PCE. So when we look at those 37 states, they're relatively mixed sort of on our binary political basis. But if you look at them, there's roughly 20 of them are Trump states. 23 of them turn out to be states with renewable portfolio standards programs, state laws that mandate a certain share of generation coming from renewables. And so if you look at that sort of perspective, you can say, well, all right, that looks more or less mixed, but I can see that electricity moved up across the board.
Yep.
What if I look over a 5-year interval from 2019 forward? I see bigger moves, and now in this case, I can see that actually, like for example, there's 12 states in this case that are above the origin. So they went up on an annual basis that are predominantly blue.
I was going to stop you right there. I mean, the difference between what we just looked at, where I think we saw a lot of annual year-to-year variability and much more like sort of political distribution. Now in a 5-year trend, we see something pretty significant.
Yeah, it's that's again, this is as a share of the overall spending, right?
Right.
So there's a rationalization to this that reflects overall spending patterns in the states. But yeah, when you look at this, you also don't see as many states rising as a share total over the 5 years. A lot of what you showed in that very first slide is the temporally localized effect of what we have in recent rate increases. Now let's go just one more slide forward. This takes a look at residential retail electric power rate changes from 2020 to 2024. So what we have here are the same red-blue dynamics. We're looking at a state on a popular vote basis in the 2024 election. And we're also looking at the states that have RPS programs. So the green dots indicate states with RPS programs, which includes some states that voted for Trump. I think an important point and one that sometimes goes overlooked. And what we can see, first of all, is a very significant front-loaded blue deck here. These states that have the biggest power increases, a lot of them also have RPS programs. Now, does an RPS program increase your power prices?
It may not. I think it might depend on where you are.
Yeah, and that's where we want to be careful about spurious correlations.
Yes.
We want to make sure that when we look at things that correlate, we understand the causal underpinnings.
Yes.
And in some cases, that may be because the states have more expensive power from renewables. In some cases, the renewables might be cheaper. If it's hydro, for example, that's a renewable and often among the cheapest power in the country. And it's also important to think about, whether or not there's other things at work. Maybe because they had high power prices in those states, maybe because they had power price increases, they thought that they needed alternatives and renewables as a way out.
An alternative hypothesis would be is if you look at these kind of largely blue urbanized states, you're talking about higher construction costs, you're talking about higher labor costs. It seems in the building of a transmission distribution system, you might have a lot of rooftop solar. There's a lot of factors here where we can point fingers and try to identify what's driving these trends.
Would we point fingers on energy shots? Would we do that here?
Only at the charts, my friend.
Well, okay, we'll point fingers at charts. Now, a good thing to do when you're asking questions is to get more data.
Right.
And I believe this time you have more data.
I do, yeah. It's very funny that here in Washington, I'm of course plotting in a slightly different way. These are graphics I'm working on for a paper of my own. So apologies to the audience that we're sort of shifting the order of things.
Not just shifting the order.
But some of the measures.
Yeah.
Right, and so rather than showing popular vote percentage, I'm showing whether or not President Trump received any electoral votes as the red-blue coloring here.
So whereas before we were looking at red states as Trump-ish,
right?
Now we're looking at blue states as Trumpless.
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
And in that context, we're looking at electricity prices by state. This is actually a 12-month average ending in July 2025. And we're seeing a lot of the same patterns that we saw in your data before. It just runs in the opposite direction, right? Red states, rural states tend to have lower energy prices on a per kilowatt hour basis than those of blue states. And you see a concentration and then like a quick rise at the end there is California, Hawaii, and DC.
Okay.
We also want to think about what does that dispersion, what does that change look like over the last 5 years, ordered the same way.
Okay.
Right? So rather than ordering by change, we're going to order by what the price is today.
So
and
these
try and
are from the lowest price states on the left.
Correct.
To the highest price states on the right.
Exactly.
And the chart this time is showing the change in those prices.
Yes, in percentage terms. And how much, and so if we think about that national average electricity increase price, what we want to see is here is like, okay, well, how much is this happening in various places? And you see some very large rate increases in the past 5 years, especially in the blue states. And of course, like the debate in Washington is like, what is driving these things? And one of the things that has been pointed to in media reporting and in a lot of political messaging over the last few months has been data centers.
You don't say.
Yes, and so what I'm plotting here is the Lawrence Berkeley National Lab's 15 most data center rich states. And I wanted to just see, well, like, are we finding spurious correlation, or are we finding places where data centers over this period may actually be driving big changes. Now, importantly to note, this is data center potentials in 2023. Right, so we're not talking about the places where a lot of data center will be built, but places that had a lot of data centers over this 5-year period, judged by the mid-year.
But as we go your direction on the chart, we're going to lower price states.
Yes.
And so it's not a surprise maybe that those lower price states are the states where we see more yellow lines indicating a large number of data centers.
If you had to build a data center and electricity is a primary cost component, you might be looking for a low price state to do it.
People like paying less instead of paying more?
Those states might also be places where you can build data centers more quickly.
Interesting.
Or for a lot of them, they might be located close to consumers, because here we're not just talking about generative AI, but all classes of data centers.
This blue orb standing on top of this large yellow tower labeled California.
That's
apparently is a reason there's a lot of data centers there that has nothing to do with the power price, because it's right on my side,
right?
Or the power price change.
No,
there must be some other factor at work there.
Yeah, it could be that that's the location of the global tech industry. And some of the places, like close to where we are in Virginia, one of the largest concentrations of data centers in the world, kind of a medium case, even though we're starting to see price impacts in this region from data centers. The other way I wanted to look at this, as I'm starting to break things down, is by the percentage of renewables.
Okay.
So slightly different metric from an RPS, but how much are we actually using? And here, of course, we're including hydropower as a renewable resource. And again, you don't see like a ton of correlation, right? The price increases in some places are in high renewable states, and in other places, high renewable states have seen modest increases.
Who's on the left-hand side?
On the left-hand side here, you've got Idaho, North Dakota, and Nebraska.
Look at Idaho bringing up the lowest rates in the region, in the nation.
Right.
That's hydro doing the work. That's doing the lifting.
That's hydro doing the work.
That's what I was talking about.
Clean, firm.
Yeah.
But if you think about North Dakota, you think about Nebraska, you think about Oklahoma, there you have transmission stranded wind resources that are driving prices lower. And then you see some higher increases in similar states, Oklahoma, South Dakota, et cetera. But I think what I'm learning as I'm starting to make these charts and trying to analyze this a little bit more is that the stories we tell ourselves, it's all renewables.
Yeah.
It's all data centers. It's actually going to be much more nuanced as we try to break down and understand what the drivers of electricity cost increases have been and will be going forward.
That's a really good point. And sometimes the explanation has nothing to do with price or with the energy source.
But the political world can always find a source of blame.
Yes, and the plug price blame game is the new pump price blame game.
That's right. Hopefully our colleagues joining us at these sessions will follow this story with us over the coming months. Kevin, thank you so much for being here this morning.
Joseph, great to be here.
Colleagues for joining us, thank you for joining us on Energy Shots. We'll see you next time. Hope you have an energetic day.